Hello, everyone. This is Neelam Pathak, founder and CEO for Social Bay and Waima. Today, we have a very interesting session lined up that is about the life cycle assessment by Dr. Jasvinder Singh. With the increased focus on the sustainability into the business functions, it is very, very important to understand the different aspects of the sustainability. One of its important part is what is LCA or life cycle assessment and why there is so much of communications and discussions about this. At session today, we will try to understand about LCA, its basics, what is advanced LCA. We will also try to have some case study as well as trying to understand how can we implement this as a part of our business functions. Now, but before I introduce our session speaker today, Dr. Jasvinder Singh comes with approximately for more than 40 years of experience. He has been a principal technical officer and former head of LCA and sustainability area at CSIR Indian Institute of Petroleum, Dehradun. He earned his master's and doctorate in chemical engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. Dr. Singh has vast experience in refining and petrochemical, mostly in the conversion process. He has also gained valuable experience in evaluating the environmental impacts of biofuels and bio-based chemical processes. Proficiency in utilizing various impact assessment methods, interpreting LCA results, and identifying areas of improvement in sustainability practices. He has also taught courses on LC and sustainability analysis to the PhD students. He has 35 research publications on his credit, of which 25 are in SCI journals, 5 chapters and book, and 2 patents. His expertise also extends to navigating the multidisciplinary nature of scientific research and collaborating with diverse stakeholders, including leading universities, government, and non government organizations and industrial groups. So, I welcome Dr. Singh. But before I hand it over to Dr. Singh, I have a request to all the viewers who are watching us today that if you have any question about the session or on LCA or any aspect of LCA that you want to ask, kindly put your question into the chat. Also, at Social Pay, we are as a part of Weimar Skilling, we are going to have, if you are interested in deep dive of the LCA and want to attend the training, our online training is going to start from 18th of May. And if you are interested, you can register at the link which is provided with this webinar, and we will also share in the chat. So over to you, Dr. Jaswinder, and I hope our audience are excited and thrilled to take up this session. Please go ahead, Dr. Jaswinder Singh.
Thank you, Neelam. Uh, and good evening, participants. I extend a very warm welcome to this LinkedIn live session. I am truly delighted to have all of you here. Today, we are going to explore a topic that is gaining much global attention. It is called life cycle assessment. Uh, we will try to understand how it connects sustainability to science and decision making. So let's start. I am Dr. Jasvinder Singh. I have been working in the field of sustainability, energy systems, and environmental assessment for over 4 decades. And I am currently a freelance LCA trainer and practitioner. Let's start by first setting the context by brief introduction. As I told you, I have had the privilege of leading the LCA and system modeling area at CSIR IIP. I have almost 40 years of diversified experience in R&D, and my journey in this field spans academic research, postdoctoral work at UK at University of Southampton, uh, industry oriented LCA studies, and more recently, as I told you, I have been conducting the hands on training sessions for professionals in the sectors like ICT, energy, and chemicals. So, why are we here today? Because I strongly believe that LCA is no more a good to know concept, rather, it is a must have tools for the sustainability professionals and the businesses which are navigating climate change, ESG pressures, and green innovations. So today's session is meant to simplify the idea of life cycle assessment and help you all to connect it with the real world decision making and business opportunities. So we will first set the context with the life cycle thinking concept, and then we will dive into LCA fundamentals, its strategic importance, the methodology, the tools, the applications, and finally how you can build expertise in this field. As Neelam has already told you, we are very soon going to conduct an online program on LCA. So let us start with life cycle thinking. What is life cycle thinking? See, LCA starts from life cycle thinking, and it is we can define thinking beyond the production site. Normally, we feel that most of the environmental emissions and impact are generated during the production phase of any product, but no, it is not true. It has been observed that almost 80% of the environmental emissions are generated outside the production site. So, life cycle thinking is a mindset which looks beyond the single point solutions and systems thinking for sustainability. This thinking considers that environmental, economic, and social impact of a process or product over its entire life cycle. Now, what is the entire life cycle of product or system? Entire life cycle of product or system, we mean to say that you start from the raw material extractions and acquisition, then preliminary production, that is processing of your raw material, then manufacture of your usable products, then those products you will have to use, and during use some emissions will also be generated, and finally when it completes its useful product life, it has to be either disposed of, or if it is possible we want to recycle it or we can reuse it, that can be done. So if you want to define life cycle assessment according to ISO 14040, it is basically computation of uh, environmental impacts during the whole life cycle of a product or a system, and we can define it as a structured approach to quantify the sustainability impact on environment. Let us take example of a t-shirt. Now, what is a t-shirt? If it is cotton t-shirt, we will start from acquiring or cultivation of cotton. So cultivation will require fertilizer, energy, water, and some pesticides also. Then this cotton, when harvested, will be processed. In processing also, you will use some dyes, you will use some cleaners, and of course, energy will be consumed in this. Finally, when your fiber is ready, you will manufacture the t-shirt. Once the t-shirt is ready, you will package it and then transport it to market, and then it reaches to end user, and user will frequently use it. If becomes dirty, he will bleach it, he will wash it, so he will be using detergents, consuming water, consuming energy. So we can see that throughout the life cycle of this t-shirt, unless it completes its life and it is either disposed of to the landfill or reused for some other use, or some of the parts if we can recycle, like fibers can be allocated for paper production also. So like this, if we look at the whole life cycle of this t-shirt, at every stage of its life cycle, it is generating one or other impact. So life cycle assessment tries to make an account of all these impacts. Before we go to the definition of life cycle, let us see how we disintegrate the life cycle assessment in different parts. We first of all we divide the life cycle of any product in upstream and downstreams. Like for production of cotton fabric, these are the typical inputs. These are the outputs, that is environmental impacts, waste water and air emissions. And these are the typical unit operations which we have to carry out for production of cotton fabric. So upstream is when we are starting from the raw material, that is cotton crop, to process it. And then downstream is when we make use of it. So let us see at this slide. These are the upstream activities. We start from field preparation, planting, field operation, harvesting, and then finally we get the organic cotton. So during this upstream activity, these are upstream activities, we generate these environmental emissions. These are the causes of these emissions. Now, once you have organic cotton, you convert it to the finished product or fabric, package it, transport it, consumer will make use of it, and finally it will be disposed. So all these activities, right from the ready product to its disposal, these are classified under downstream activities. So these upstream and downstream activities together constitute the whole life cycle of product. So when we carry out life cycle assessment, that is when we estimate all the emissions at each stage of life cycle of product or process, we tend to look at the whole picture. And after looking at the whole picture, we will focus on the most significant parts. What do you mean by most significant parts? The hot spots, the environmental emission, where at which stage of life cycle most of the emissions are being generated, that you will be able to appreciate. Once you get all these accounts, you will get the facts right, and that will enable you to take the better decisions. So once you have all the emission slate, like your NOx, carbon dioxide, and water pollutants, and each and everything, we can convert it to the environmental impacts for all the compartments of environment, such as carbon footprint, water footprint, ecosystem quality, natural resources, and human health. And then this completes the whole LCA exercise, and we are ready with the quantified environmental impact of a product or process. How it helps us? Basically, LCA points out the burden shifting. Like if you take example of electric vehicles, on the road you will not see any tailpipe emissions. But of course, in a country like India, where most of the power generation is through coal, so when you are using power to charge your electric vehicles, your burden is shifted from the electricity generation unit. Similarly, for comparing your renewable fuels like biodiesel, ethanol with fossil fuels, you need to know the whole emissions at the each stage of the whole life cycle of fossil fuel as well as your renewable fuel. So then you will be able to know that where the environmental burdens are being shifted by using one product, or when we are substituting one product with the other one. Then you will be able to make your informed decisions. So in a nutshell, we can say life cycle thinking is the philosophy, and life cycle assessment is the methodology to practice this philosophy. Why it is the most robust tool to operationalize the sustainability? Because it provides a comprehensive framework for evaluating the environmental impacts of a product or service throughout its life cycle. Because when you focus on the whole life cycle, then only you know the whole picture. So it is you can look LCA as a holistic approach which allows for identification of key environmental hotspots, enabling targeted intervention and improvements. And thus, life cycle assessments, science based methodology is underpinned by international standards, ensures consistency and reliability in assessment. So, LCA is thus a standardized method to give us the reliable results which have been standardized using the different scientific methods. We will study all these impact assessment methods, how they are made when we go for the detailed course. Now, we live in a time where human activity has outsized and often invisible impact on the planet. Like technology and economic development are amplifying the magnitude of our environmental footprint. Then globalization adds complexity. The impacts of production are often felt far from the point of consumption, and this leads to disconnection and delayed feedback. Sometimes we are not able to know what exact impact our present day activity will be having in on the environment on the long run. So moreover, many environmental problems we face in this way have long time lag. So consequences of today's emission or resources we might not become fully aware today, and they will be visible decades later. Here I would like to give you very small example. In 1930s, there was a phenomena in United States of America, dust bowl phenomena. You can search it on the YouTube and get the relevant videos. Here, because we are having the time constraint, I did not include that video in this. It so happened that the over enthusiastic efforts of farmers in American Midlands went on cultivating more and more land, and in that process they removed the native grasses which were holding the earth in those midlands. Now, it was good unless there was good rain, but in those days rain was not in hand of the human. It was a natural phenomena. So in 1930s, when drought hit, what happened? In absence of those native grasses, the whole sand was loose, and those fast hurricanes spread the cloud of dust all over the America, and it caused many human health impact like dust pneumonia and such things. So like this, sometimes we don't foresee the impact of our actions unless we have a detailed picture which life cycle assessment provides us. And this is where the tools like LCA are critical. They help us to trace those cause effect chains, quantify the hidden impacts, and prevent irreversible damage before it is too late. These are the main environmental challenges of today. Climate change due to the global warming, resource scarcity. I think the latest example is drinking water crisis in Bangalore earlier last year in 2024. It was outcome of the consumption of drinking water in cooling the data centers of IT industry in Bangalore. Similarly, biodiversity loss is another environmental challenge. So, all these to address all these challenges, we need a system level thinking, and LCA helps us in that. We cannot forget that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We are borrowing it from our children. So, if we are not saving our environment today, then we are creating problem for our generations to come. Now, these are the some things with LCA has got application in, like if for climate change. if you carry out LCA of your products or services, you can quantify the carbon footprint and what are the hot spots in your process. So that will enable you to take the informed decision, and by taking those decisions you can modify your processes in such a way to that reduces the global warming. So then you will be able to contribute towards the climate change, climate modeling, and you can check the climate change which is harmful for our generations to come. So LCA supports the science based targets, and with that you can make use for make use to use LCA for climate modeling. Then across the globe, regulatory frameworks are evolving very rapidly, and many of them now require product level environmental data, which is where LCA will help you. Now, you take example of ESG disclosures. For example, companies are increasingly required to report their scope 3 emissions because it affects the other allied industries which are interlinked with that. So what does this mean? It means that you have to quantify emissions along the entire value chain. So LCA is the only tool which provides the structure and data for doing that. Similarly, in Europe, the CBAM or carbon border adjustment mechanism has become mandatory for the exporters. If you want to export your product to European Union, you have to carry out the carbon footprint of your product, and you have to provide the format prescribed by European Union in the shape of CBAM. Sorry. So how will you do this? In this also, LCA is the potential tool which can help you to prepare the format of CBAM reporting. Then digital product passport is another European Union initiative, and under this DPP initiative, companies need to provide the information about the circularity of their product. They have to disclose the environmental and circularity information for all products, and in the European Union, for textile industry they are going to make it mandatory to attach the labels which have this kind of QR code. If you scan this QR code, you will get the whole information, that is cradle to grave carbon footprint and environmental footprint of your product. So from 2030 onward, European Union is planning that all the textile products which are being sold in European Union will have these digital product passports. Similarly, for it is not only for textile industry, for other products also, this is being made mandatory. So this also can only be done by life cycle assessment, or carrying out life cycle assessment of your whole production process of production of your fabric. Then your net zero and science based technology initiatives are also requiring LCA data for preparing their reports. So in this way we can say that all these global regulations are driving the LCA adoption very fast, and gradually it is gaining momentum. Whether you are a consultant, product developer, or sustainability officer, LCA knowledge opens door to all these kind of reportings, not only within your organization. In addition to that, for your other surroundings, like you can practice life cycle assessment as career, and as you can practice the consultancy for all these kind of reportings. Then it provides you supply chain transparency by ESG reporting. Any business can very well assess that what is the carbon footprint of their suppliers also. So like this, LCA is going to help in all these endeavors. So now it once again strengthens the concept that in coming time, knowledge of LCA is mandatory. These are the standards and frameworks for ISO. There are international standards like ISO 14040 and 14044. 14040 is basically framework and idea, and 14044 is the methodology to practice life cycle assessment. Similarly, product environment footprint and GHG protocol reporting, environmental product declarations, all these things form the standards and framework for life cycle assessment. So, according to ISO 14040, there are four stages of life cycle assessment. First stage is goal and scope definition, which will relate the environmental impacts to the product or service function. You can define your goal first, what for you are going to use your life cycle assessment results, and whether it has to be implemented globally or locally or for some given geographical location. All these things you have to decide in the first phase, that is goal and scope definition. Now once you have formulated your goal and scope, you have to quantify the balances over the whole life cycle from cradle to grave, and for this you need the data. So data is basically inventory of extractions and emissions which you have to prepare, and this is basically uh, the main components which constitute this inventory data is data of emissions generated during power generation, during transportation, during the manufacture of product, and like this at each stage. Now you consolidate this inventory and prepare the inventory of emissions. Now this inventory of emission is assigned to standardized impact indicators. So when you convert these emissions to impact indicators, you have multiple impacts like greenhouse gas effect, toxicity, human toxicity, and your uh, aquatic life, and your flora and fauna, and resource depletion. So there are a number of indicators which have been standardized. So those indicators help you to make a standard impact assessment, which you can which you can make use of in deciding what are the hot spots and what overall environmental impact your process or product is going to have on the whole environment at different compartments. Now once you have all these things, then you interpret this data and make the informed decisions. These are the various life cycle scope types. Earlier, we have seen that it is basically life cycle is from raw material extraction to end of life. So we can carry out life cycle assessment with different scopes. One is cradle to grave. Cradle to grave means right from the raw material extraction to the end of life, whether it is disposal, rather for cradle to grave it is disposal to uh, landfill or some other way. So This kind of LCA scope is called cradle to grave. For biofuels and fossil fuels, you are more interested in the production phase only. That is from raw material extraction, or in case of biofuels, from the cultivation of your biocrop feedstock to manufacture of your fuel. So then that scope is known as cradle to gate. Means you are not concerned about the use phase and end of life. Rather, you are more focused for your production site or production of your product. Then another scope is sometimes you need not to look at the raw material extraction and use and end of life due to certain reasons, like some industries are not involved in raw material extraction, rather they acquire it as such. They are more concerned to report their ESG report around their manufacturing facility. So then this scope is termed as gate to gate. Means you are not considering any other thing, rather you are focusing only on your manufacturing facility. Then finally, the things like digital product passport require cradle to cradle LCA. That is, you started from raw material, traveled up to the end of life, and then you identified that what are the typical components which you can reuse here. That is circularity of your product. So then in that case, that scope is termed as cradle to cradle life cycle assessment. These are some popular LCA tools as a part of our training program, which is going to start from the 18th of May. We will be focusing a specific tool training on Sima Pro. But apart from Sima Pro, we have Gabi software. One open LCA is there. It is open source software. Only thing is you need to get the life cycle inventory data from open data repositories, or you can purchase eco invent data and make use of that. In Sima Pro, you get eco invent data coupled with the software itself. And Gabi software uses its own database. Now let us have a look at the applications across the sectors. In manufacturing sector, carbon hot spotting areas are of high is necessary to identify areas of high environmental impact. Companies, after carrying out LCA, can redesign process or switch to the more greener materials. Then in FMCG sector, the packaging is the biggest problem. So companies can use LCA to improve packaging sustainability, reduce waste, and communicate environmental performance to eco-conscious consumers. So in FMCG, we can take example of the milk bottles which were used earlier for marketing milk. How does it make difference to use the Tetra Pak and the disposable poly packs? See, when you are using bottles, you can make some assessment that out of 10 bottles which go to market, only 9 return. One is broken in on the way, and then you have to replenish your required packaging material. In addition to that, your glass bottles need to be washed every time. So these problems can be overcome by comparing the life cycle of the glass bottles with that of tetra packing and your this poly packing, and then you can make your decision whether you should go for the poly packing. And otherwise also, for glass bottles your transportation cost will be more, because transportation emissions are measured in ton multiplied by kilometer. So ton means the load of your milk. So if you use the heavy glass bottles, your load will be more, and it will result in more transportation emissions. Then in internet communication technology, digital product carbon footprints, especially with the rising concern about energy use in data centers for cooling and for the digital infrastructure. Then B2B applications, you need scope 3 reporting. Companies are now accountable for their emissions. So they are concerned about those also which are across their value chain, especially the products and services they buy and sell. So in B2B also, LC application is in ESG reporting by quantifying your scope 3 emissions. Sorry. We can take some typical examples, typical case studies where you can apply your life cycle assessment knowledge, like comparing your fossil fuels with the biofuels. Here, as I pointed out in earlier slide, that you only go for cradle to gate. For use phase, here for fossil fuels, of course, some studies are there. But normally, while making comparison, we go up to the distribution stage, because these emissions do not make much difference. Only some of the sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides emissions are additional as compared to your biofuels. Then for packaging, if you are using some package, you can carry out LCA and assess the material change impact as well as forward change impact, and then you can identify the new design strategies. For data centers, main concern is your cooling. You have to either design the more efficient data centers which generate less heat and they are energy efficient, consume less electricity, and for whatever heat depletion you need to do, you have to search for alternate, you have to search and assess the alternates like air conditioning, or if there is some large water body near the data center, you can make use of that water for water cooling. But the things like they did in Bangalore can again create problem for the drinking water. So LCA will help you to decide how you want to uh, modify your process to make it more friendly and sustainable. Now, question is, why learn LCA now? As you have seen in past slides, demand for LCA practitioner is going very fast, and it is fueled by policy changes, investor pressures, and global pivot to meet net zero, to create the net zero economies. I hope you will be aware of COP conventions and the INDC commitments of the nations. India is also having its INDC commitment to achieve net zero by 2030 and reduce their emissions by certain percentage. I think it is nearly 40% as compared to 2005 level. So you can achieve all these targets only when you can carry out life cycle assessment of your newly introduced product and assess the environmental footprint of your existing products and services. Companies want data for this, and from consultants to in-house sustainability roles, LCA skill will open new career paths across the all sectors like manufacturing, IT, supply chain, agriculture, finance. Because in finance sector also you have to make the funding decisions for your clients. So unless you know their environmental footprint, you cannot make a judicious decision to fund a particular industry. Then if you are entrepreneur or independent consultant, then it is very good tool to know. You can position, offer the LCA services and position yourself at the heart of ESG and CBAM and circular economy readiness scenario. So in a nutshell, you can say learning LCA is now the strategic is an investment for your career, for your organization, for your planet also. And this is high time because there is never been more urgency or opportunity. Now governments and companies need skilled professionals who can quantify and communicate the impacts to make the sustainable technologies and services. We are starting one 10 weeks weekend kind of training program. Neelam will explain it in more detail. It will be online format with live sessions on the weekends. We will cover LCA basics, the hands-on experience on tools. During this training, we will be imparting training on the SIMA Pro, and we will take industry cases from the participants itself, so that this training is more useful for all the people who are attending. And I would say it is ideal for professionals and consultants. So, if we summarize the key takeaways from LCA learning, is because it is essential for sustainable transformation, so it is a must-have tool. Rising in relevance due to ESG, CBAM, and climate pressures and other stringent norms, you need to practice and master the life cycle assessment to position yourself with the strength in the current scenario. And it is going to be in demand skill for business and individuals very soon. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Here is my phone number and email address, and alternatively you can connect to Neelam also. And now session is open for your questions. Please ask your
Thank you,
question.
Dr. Singh. Thank you for explaining and taking it up in the details, covering with what is LCA, what are the different tools, and how is it relevant, for the current and the future scenario, and why is it important. And I really like that, why is it the time to learn it now. Now we have few live question which has come, and also we have few question which has come as a part of registrations. So I would like to ask you, one of the question asked by Dr. Aman is that he wanted you to explain the cradle to cradle with the different example. So is it possible that you can go to that slide where you have explained and give an example, a different example?
Mhm. Dr. Aman, thank you for your question. And you see, cradle to cradle example is like recently someone approached me to conduct a life cycle assessment of their production facility. Now, when I asked them that what you want to focus on, so they said we want to focus on our plant only. Means they are not going to acquire anything from the outside. Like a very good example for Dr. Aman Bhosle is because I know him. He is working in the area of sustainable fuels, and in particular, biodiesel production from the used cooking oil. So, like you are doing for used cooking oil, you are not acquiring from anyone by depleting any natural resource. Rather, you are getting it from some uh, eateries or canteens or food outlets like this McDonald and KFC kind of facilities. So whatever environmental burden you are putting is only the transportation from that facility to your place. Now once it comes to your place, you have two scopes. Either you move it towards the distribution of your prepared biodiesel, or you can confine your LCA to your biodiesel manufacturing facility only. Means while you are manufacturing your biodiesel, what are the typical energy inputs and how much impact they are generating? What are the chemicals if you are using any environmental impact of that? In case you resort to supply heat for the reaction from some external source, because you see I have privilege to work on that process, so I know it is basically room temperature process. But if you are making it at some cold location, you may need to provide some heat. So that heat you are providing at the site of your production. Now, if you confine your life cycle assessment in that domain only, that is the cradle to cradle. But the moment you involve the transportation to a petrol pump, then it is no more cradle to sorry, gate to gate. Sorry, I think I spoke cradle to cradle. It is basically gate to gate. Acha, your question is cradle to cradle. Okay. Sorry for getting the question wrong. Cradle to cradle means if you are doing some life cycle assessment of, for example, say some steel plant. So from steel plant, you will be moving towards the production, then production to marketing, marketing to your disposal of your steel. Now, steel you can reuse again, making your fresh thing. You understand it with the fact that suppose you are manufacturing trucks. Now, your trucks are going to market, user are using it, and after 20 years, it renders serviceless. Now you dismantle it. Now, after dismantling, a number of metals you will be getting apart from the wood, everything you can recycle. So that scope of the life cycle assessment is termed as cradle to cradle. Sorry, earlier I thought you were asking the gate to gate.
Thank you, Dr. Jasvinder. We have one more question, and this question is from Nitin Shrotri. Now, Nitin has a startup that is an eco-friendly recycling use of rice dry leaves. Now, he is asking how can we calculate the carbon credits earned in case our product is eco-friendly using natural waste. So he is trying to understand that if they have to calculate on the carbon credits, if they are using the eco-friendly waste, how should they do it or how should they approach for it? And naturally, he has given the details of what is the, how much is the rice produce and what is the waste. So he wanted to understand from the business point of view, how can they calculate on the carbon credits in such case?
LCA will help you to estimate the carbon footprint, the reduction of carbon footprint by modifying your process further. Means, of course, as presently also you must be generating some carbon footprint. You carry out LCA, identify the hot spots, and then you modify your processes to reduce that carbon footprint. So whatever carbon footprint you are reducing, that will come to your carbon credits. Means that is the impact which you are saving. So LCA can help you to modify or revamp your process, and you can identify what are the typical life cycle stages, whether it is your processes conducting what you are exactly using your rice.
They are using, Dr. Singh, they are into, I mean, they create a pillow which is called rest and travel. They use rice husk and some other, raw
Okay,
material of agri waste as a part for filling
nice.
of this pillow. So
Okay,
that is the product that they have. And he is asking to understand if, if they have to calculate the carbon
okay.
credits,
I think
how
they
can they
must be
do?
using that rice grass also, means waste also, harvesting waste as well as sorry, rice
Could
one
be.
has got a number of applications, but that waste it is very good application. What you can do, you can compare the life cycle of your this dry leaves filled pillow with that of alternate fillings like cotton and the synthetic fiber. So when you carry out a comparative life cycle assessment of all these three, or if some other thing comes to your mind, you can include that also. So by that you can show that sorry, if you use this organic cotton, there is clear cut saving, because for organic cotton you will be generating the harvesting, the cultivation, the pesticide and irrigation emissions. But in this case you are using a waste product. So when it is a waste product, it is not having any production carbon footprint associated with this. Only thing is, if you want to uh, fetch it from some distant location, only emission which you are putting are of transportation. So by carrying out that comparative life cycle assessment, you can demonstrate that what is the amount of carbon emissions or greenhouse gases which you are reducing by using this eco-friendly filling. So that will help you to get the carbon credits by that. Have I
Thank you,
answered
Dr.
your question?
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Singh. We have received few more questions since we are left with only 9 minutes. I wanted to take some of the question that has come as a part of the registration. One question is which has come from a procurement team member that how can LCA support on the cost saving goals?
Cost saving. See, one thing is not included in my today's presentation, that is life cycle costing. While you are conducting life cycle assessment, if you incorporate the cost of the components, like if you are generating the emission slate of your transportation, if you include the cost of fuel and cost of that truck manufacturer, if you want to include that also, because that also we do at various stages. So let us not make it more complex, we just include the cost of fuel. So whenever you are reducing your carbon footprint by reducing your fuel consumption at transportation stage, then that will result directly into your cost saving. Similarly, if you are using some chemical or some processing, and you are able to find out some more sustainable process which is cost effective as well, so that analysis also can be carried out using LCA tools. Only thing is, when we include the at the second stage of LCA, where we are preparing the inventory of the emissions, at that stage only we can incorporate the cost of the facilities also. So by carrying out LCA in that manner, we will have a cost slate also. That is, what is the production cost of our one product, and if we make it with some alternative route, what is the cost of product by that alternative route. So that life cycle costing is also auxiliary process to life cycle assessment. And when we teach you the whole complete course, then we will incorporate that life cycle costing also, and that will help you to estimate the economics also.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. And one last question now, as we are left with 6 more minutes with our session. You touched base about the CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and how European Union is going to come up with this. Now, the question is, especially from the small and medium scale industries, if if they those who are exporting to the European Union and the countries like that, how can they be better prepared with CBAM and how LCA can help them there?
Well, for CBAM, there is one format, and identically for DPP also, digital product passport, you have to provide the environmental footprint. In case of CBAM, it is only your greenhouse gases in equivalent CO2, in CO2 equivalent. So you have to quantify the CO2 equivalent emissions of all the greenhouse gases, maybe CO, CO2, NOx, SOx. You convert everything to the equivalent CO2 concentration per functional unit of your LCA. So you can generate those numbers by carrying out life cycle assessment, and then those numbers you have to supply in those formats, and those formats are acceptable by those agencies. If you go on internet, you can just get the CBAM format and ESG format. So you just have a look at those formats. That is nothing but your carbon footprint at the each stage of uh, your production process in case of digital product passport. And for CBAM, it is the consolidated carbon footprint of your product. I think now for steel industry, European Union has made it mandatory.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, for such an enriching session. I also had my personal set of learnings today. And thank you for patiently answering the questions of our viewers. I hope our viewers and listeners would have learned a lot about LCA today. This was just a very brief session about what life cycle assessment is. And we have also planned a deep dive session terms of LCA training that we are going to start from 18th of May online. So if you are anybody who is working into the sustainability domain or procurement domain or quality domain or any other business functions, because we have seen today how LCA can be implemented in any business function and why it is important to learn LCA for, because it is one of the future skill that is trending, and it's very, very important to understand that what my products are consisting of. And it's not only about the product, it's also about the services. So whether you are in a product business, a services business, and whether you are a sustainability expert or not, but it's very, very important to understand how it is done, how is it calculated, and also with the regulations like CBAM and others coming on, and with more focus on sustainability, with the sustainability goals and carbon reduction goals with India that India has taken and the world that has taken. It's important that we learn it. So we request, if you have an interest and if you want to go deep dive onto that, you want to learn what are the different tools for that, the case studies implementation of it, do register your interest for the training. We have already shared the link of that in this chat, as well as you can follow our page on social pay to learn about this training, and we will be happy to onboard you. Thank you, Dr. Singh, again. This was a very enriching session, and I hope our viewers have learned a lot. Thanks again, sir.
One more thing I would like to add: if any of the participant has any doubt or any question, you are welcome to email me. I will try to clarify your doubts, and then maybe you are in better position to decide whether to join this training starting from 18th.
Thank you.
So if you have any such query, you are welcome to write me on my email address, or you may write to Neelam as well, and she will communicate with you.
Thank you. Thank you, just Dr. Jasvinder. With this, we will be ending our session. Thank you again.
Okay. Thank you very much.